Okay, this is John Hope Bryant. This is the trending topic of the week, and I don't understand some of this stuff. This is on a brilliant actor named Terrence Howard. Um, I would love to be positive about this. I'd love to find some silver lining. I'd love to say I understand. I don't. I really don't. This is a brilliant actor. I want to give him his flowers first. Um, I've seen some of his shows. Uh, I've seen at least one of his series and watched it the whole. I binge watched the whole season of it. He's acting too much like one of his characters. He's getting bad advice, and he's making the worst kind of decision, which is an emotional one. This is not a play in a movie. This is not a part in a movie. This is not going to end well. You never make an emotional decision. Whenever you make an emotional decision, it's going to be a bad one. Mr. Howard, if you're watching this, please know I mean you the best. I am not trying to get any kind of floss or credit or whatever on your name. I'm trying to put some respect on your name by giving you good knowledge. And it doesn't appear that you've got good advice. Whoever is your advisors, you need to fire them or replace them or whatever. They're giving you bad advice. I'm happy to talk to you for free if you like. I don't want anything. I'm if you're doing a little research on me, you know that I'm qualified to sit here and talk to you. Uh, I've made it legitimately, and I pay my taxes. So my brother um, was has been in several tax situations before this. This is not a new one. He seems to just not like paying taxes. If you read the story that we will put, uh, we'll reference it in at least the video version of this. You'll be able to find as a video version as comes online. But the for podcast purposes, just research this on your own, and you'll find that there are other situations where Mr. Howard has argued with taxing authorities. This particular argument is the worst argument because it's with the federal government. I'd rather owe my mama some money, God rest her soul, Juanita Smith, than owe the IRS. Let me tell you something. Al Capone was a bad brother as a gangster, and it appears, literally got away with murder. And they couldn't make anything stick on this man, but they got him on tax evasion and put him away for what ultimately became life because I think he died in prison. Um, Alcatraz, I believe. They got him on tax evasion, and he didn't take it seriously. He blew it off. The IRS was like, "Look, we don't know where you're making your money, and the folks we think it's illegal, but they can't make that case stick on you. But you got to at least pay taxes on whatever money you're making. Where you making it is another situation that's up for law enforcement to figure out. But it appears you have an incredible lifestyle, and you can't seem to justify that lifestyle with legal purpose. Again, the government can't seem to make that stick. But you have admitted that you're making this money, and you've not paid your portion of taxes, and you got to pay the piper. You can't you can't drive on public streets, which is provided by the government. You cannot uh, use street lights, which is provided by the government. You cannot go to public schools, send your kids to public schools, which is provided by the government and taxpayers. You cannot use public transportation. You cannot use public facilities. You cannot go and use the courts. You cannot use the law. You cannot use the apparatus of arguably the best legal framework for country in the world, which is the United States of America, for free. If this environment has helped you facilitate your aspirational success, then you got to pay the piper. And here are the numbers before you make a dime. Here's what the ratios and the scales are. If you don't like that, don't make any money, or go move to Argentina, or move to Egypt, or go to Africa, or go to Europe, or go to Asia, someplace where you think it's a better deal, and go make some money over there. Don't do business here. But if you're going to do business here, here are the rules. And we all sort of know what we sign up to before we sign up. I do. I had one of my biggest tax bills almost fell out of my chair. Um, in 2021, 22. I forget what year it was. But I didn't curse. I was like, thank God I've got this tax bill. Means I'm making some money and building some wealth. So I wouldn't have had the tax bill unless I'm producing an income. So it depends how you is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? Depends who's looking at the glass. Is it, what do you believe? Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. Okay, so let me get to the Terrence Howard thing because you guys are probably tired of me already, which was sounding like preaching here. But I have personal experience with this because I've had the franchise tax board at my front door when I didn't pay them when I started Operation Hope in 1992, and I used my private company to fund the payrolls for my volunteer employees. I'm sorry, for my nonprofit employees who were then operating out of my office when I started Operation Hope after the Rodney King riots. I figured because I was doing the right thing and doing a nice thing and doing something for society, the least that the government could do would be to give me a break on paying franchise tax, meaning the portion of the paycheck that goes to the state of California in this particular example from the payroll taxes. And the state of California was like, bunk that. You're paying payroll. We want our portion of it. And that's the law, nonprofit or for profit. And they showed up at my front doorstep. I ignored the letters to my own peril. They showed up at my front doorstep and put a cashier at my front doorstep of my office in my reception area and went open every piece of mail until they were paid. And I learned my lesson. And I've had in my early life, I was running so fast, I wasn't trying to avoid the tax man. I was running so fast that one year merged into the other, and I didn't do taxes for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And I had to go back and redo all ththose taxes. And I was like holding my breath. Please let me get to the tax man before the tax man gets to me. Again, I'd rather owe my mama than owe the tax man. The penalties and interest from the IRS are worse than any gangster or any mafia that you've ever experienced. It's unbelievably harsh because they're not trying to be your lender. They want to be the lender of last resort. They want to encourage you to pay your bill and get the heck out. And they don't want long-term credit agreements or short-term credit agreements for that matter. So I've had to pay the penalties. I filed all my tax returns, paid the penalty, and was thankful to get the IRS out of my hair. And Mr. Howard did the opposite. He ignored it, bluffed it, and on this one situation with these are federal taxes. Again, state is bad enough. Federal property taxes is something. Is another thing. These are all bad, but when you flub the government on income tax, they come down on you hard, and they don't care that you're a celebrity. And this man's claim was that this was enslavement or something, or that the country was owes black people because we were enslaved. Brother, you're making millions of dollars. We're not talking about Pookie and them. We're not talking about a descendant's claim of 3 generations of slavery or 5 generations or 10 generations of slavery, which may have some legitimacy and maybe a proper case at a proper time. I mean, Abraham Lincoln actually gave plantation owners a payment or a way to get themselves out of slavery by releasing their slaves, by giving them a payment. There could be some argument that there's some legal but that is not what we're talking about here. And that's not this. You were an actor in a highly paid show. You took the money. You took the money and you spent it. And you knew that there was part of that had to go to taxes. So how can now how can the back end be slavery and enslavement or abuse if the front end wasn't slavery and abuse? Were you enslaved when you? I'm not jamming up Terrence Howard here. Please, I love the brother. I want him to do right, but I've had to be people to tell me straight, John, knock it off. And I'm saying, Mr. Howard, knock it off. This is going to end badly. Please call the IRS and cut a deal. Please apologize for your statements because these IRS agents are all powerful. They're worse than judges. They don't have to do it what they're doing in the public. They can just simply come in on a bad day, and if you cursing them out, and I heard you left several voicemails for this IRS agent. Remember, this is a person making 40, 50, $60,000 a year and may not be happy at home and may resent you. Maybe don't let them be racist, but I mean, they may just resent your success and they don't want you talking mess to them on top of that. And they may just throw the book at you. And if they throw the book at you, it's going to be very, 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 very bad. And this interest is going to keep compounding. As a former president that's about to deal with the power of compounding interest in the opposite direction, which is he thinks that $83 million check that he had to write, or the $350 million check that the court said he had to write in New York was bad. Wait till you see interest on that. I think it's already started growing at some crazy amount a day. If the number I read was correct, he may have $40 million of interest a year, just in interest if he doesn't pay that thing off. So, Mr. Howard, you need to pay this off. You need to cut a deal. Put your ego in the drawer. Leave your speeches for your scripts. Ambassador Andrew Young said that men and women fail for three reasons: arrogance, pride, and greed. Put the pride aside, please, and cut a deal. You were not enslaved. This is not about slavery. You're not oppressed. You wrote these, you signed on this deal, these contracts. You were paid, you spent the money, you had a good time, you are a celebrity living a great life. Pay your share so that poor kids can go to school, and then we can all get, drive on freeways at work. This is not the government ripping you off. This is the government money comes from us. Hello, 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 everybody. The government's money comes from us. Things don't just work on their own. They work because America has one of the worst infrastructure in the world. That's a whole nother conversation. But if we don't have good infrastructure, we can't continue to be the leading economy in the world. We have to reinvest, and taxation is a form of that reinvestment. Yes, we need to make sure that there's smart taxation, but that is not this conversation. Pay your taxes and then go use the power as a taxpayer that again to go argue about where your taxpayer money is going to. I wrote letters. We have two street lights off about 2 miles from my house, turn signals versus one, because I wrote letters as a taxpayer, and that one was easy. I wrote one letter, and the state of Georgia just installed the second turn lane, which has changed. Every time I turn, I feel good. Everybody else has less frustration because the traffic's moving. But there's potholes right near my house, and your whole wheel would fall off if you went over these potholes. It's like 6 of them, and anybody can see it. Nobody would fix it. No, I wrote a letter, then 2, then 6. Then I start copying everybody. I wrote a letter to everybody. Are you going to avoid this, Mr. Mayor? It was a black mayor too, and I was told he was like, who is John Bryant to tell me what to do? I'm a taxpayer. That's who I am. And after I paid that tax bill, I was really hot. Hey man, if you know how much money I paid in the state taxes and local taxes and property taxes, you'd be hot like me too. So yeah, fix the potholes, man. Well, that brother, by the way, had some all kind of trouble after that. By the way, they fixed the potholes, and thank God. And I sent a thank you note when they did. But that man, because God don't like ugly, end up having a lot of bad karma, and his life has not ended up very nicely because he's not a nice person. God don't like ugly. Okay, that's a different topic, and this is not related to Terrence Howard. He's a brilliant man. I'll end where I started. Brilliant man, brilliant actor, but doesn't mean you're a brilliant businessman. Get yourself some better advisors or call me for free. Love and light, John Hope Bryan. I'm out.